All right, we're rolling. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say Kalayim Layal Bashim Yahushai Bashim HaKakodash. And double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do rule and teach well. Uh, and as well as honors to the brothers pushing the truth across the four corners. With all sincerity, tell the party checking in one of the video. Lord willing, be edified. Lord willing, be edifying to the elect. We're just gonna get into a topic on kind of current events. We got to go through these things, redeeming the time, measuring out the time diligently through the scriptures. So we got to go into the current events. We've got to be that spiritual watchman and look at these things and make videos about it, man. Onto the prophecies and so on and so forth. So this is what's currently going on with this whole Hormuz crisis. Iran's foreign minister says he shared Tehran's views on ending war at Islamabad's talk. I think that's the Pakistani the capital Pakistan. So we're just gonna read the summary and then read this little article here because it's from BBC.com, by the way. So they already got live and direct, and before we read, that reminds me of Matthew 24, and like 6 and 7. I think 7 is when it starts, but yes, you hear wars and rumors of wars. Rumors means reports, right? And we know it's talking about these times because we have the internet, and you get it live and direct, man. And look, this website here is updated live, man. Live reporting. So let's read the summary. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi said he's presented Tehran's views and considerations in ending the war during a meeting with the head of Pakistan's armed forces in Islamabad. He appears to have come to the Pakistani capital with a comprehensive proposal to pass Pakistan. BBC's Persian, I don't know how to say that. Gr Gall writes from Islamabad. Right. Let's see what this says. What this pulls up on. Oh, all right. Well, it just loops back to that one. Oh well. So maybe they haven't released it yet. Yesterday, the White House said the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner and also at the Pakistan for Iran talks on Saturday. There's been no word on whether they left. Iranian officials told the BBC that meeting with the U.S. is not on Araghchi's agenda. So they don't even want to talk to them, man. Over the past week, U.S. officials have repeatedly downplayed suggestions that they feel pressure to wrap the war quickly. Yeah, of course they don't want to talk to Babylon, man. They know these devils, man. They tired of them, And actually, we don't have to read the other article here because it goes over here. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces has killed 4 members. It describes as member Hezbollah. Hezbollah has attacked the Israeli military all during an extended military ceasefire. Yeah, so they're all going back and forth. And I think those Amalekites are still attacking. Yeah, 4 killed into the Lebanon. We don't got to go into it. But, yeah, they're still attacking them, even while they're trying to, Babylon's trying to call for ceasefire. All right? These Iranians are not falling for it, man. The world is not falling for it, man. All right? So, it's all leading up to. So this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50. Let's see here. Yeah, honestly, we might score 45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord. They have taken against Babylon his purposes. They propose against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely in the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Alright, so yeah, Babylon, is not talking about ancient Babylon. Because you could just read up earlier ahead. It talks about how Babylon will be completely destroyed. Also, it speaks on how, Judah, Israel and what does it say? Israel and Judah were pressed together. All right, that didn't happen in ancient Babylon. All right, because by that point, the northern kingdom was already dragged out under the sieges of Shalmaneser V, and were completed under Sargon the second of Assyria. The northern kingdom was already dragged out, and that's in Second Kings, at least Second Kings the 17th chapter. They were already dragged out, and then from there they were relocated and resettled along different parts around the Tigris and the Euphrates, in those kind of areas like those Hala, Habor, like those different areas over there. All right, and what they did, the Syrians did, was that they took heathens and resettled heathens in that area. Okay, so that's why scriptures talk about that. Hushai's time, enter not to any city of the Samaritans, because there was the heathens over there, man. All right, the northern kingdom was already dragged away. All right, so yeah, all right, and where did the northern kingdom go? The northern kingdom came over here to this land, America, which would eventually, in process of time, to all these other Edomite nations, the different Dutch, Spanish, those guys getting pushed out. Just left with the ones that came from England, man. And then they broke away, and then you get Babylon the Great, the new recreated Roman Empire. All right, which that goes into Daniel 7 and things like that. That goes into America's rise, man. That little horn, man. All right, the land of the Chaldeans. All right, the Chaldeans were the witches and warlocks. All right, but it's all talking about America. This is talking about America today. All right. Surely the least of the flock also mystery Babylon in Revelation. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make the habitation desolate with them. All right, and the least of the flock, talk about these Amalekites, man. All right, see here, the least of the flock, the Lord's going to use Amalek, the so-called Jews, to start off the Third World War. Yeah, man. All right, Amalek is the chief nation of these Edomites. All right, but yet, Babylon is the big nation. Is the bigger nation. All right, them occupying our land. They're smaller than Babylon. All right, but they Lord's pretty much using Amalek, right, to draw America into Third World War, and they should both be made desolate. All right, the only difference is that America is going to be desolate forever, but Israel, that landmass, is also going to get nuked as well. Right, and it's also prophesied that Russia is going to come against that land as well in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Okay, so this is the book of Numbers, chapter 24. And maybe we want to start at what's his prophecies of Balaam? But maybe we'll go to what was it Balak? Yeah, Balaam. Yeah. All right. Which he was praying and fasting and certain things, but he was a heathen. The Lord pretty much had him prophesy of his own destruction. Essentially. You know what I mean? All right. But he's a heathen. All right. So Numbers 24 and 20, and we looked on Amalek. He took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that they perish forever. All right. Yeah. And Amalek, that prophecy of course came to pass. Amalek is the first of the nations, starting with these the Rothschilds, the lead banking families, which at the top is going into the Rothschilds. All right, those are Amalek, and the chief nation of Esau, man. This nation has had a perpetual hatred, against us, right? All the tribes of Edom, right? But Amalek is the chief of them, right? That's why they're really big on speaking against us, calling us anti-Semitic, and trying to actually I heard one of these guys try to claim that we're the Edomites, right? Like complete madness, man. All right, but you can't also forget that Amalek was the first nation that attacked us when we left from Egypt, right? So they've always come against us, man, right? Just like the rest of those damn devils. All right, but yeah, there's just another example, all right, of this article. Just another example, at least the flock drawing them out, right? And the end of Amalek is that he's gonna perish forever, man. Alright, eventually, pertaining to Obadiah 1 and 18. Well, actually, before then, when Yahushua comes back, right, and World War III pop, it's of course gonna be going off, and then Yahushua is gonna come back, right, and then America's gonna be destroyed, the elect are gonna be saved, the nuke's gonna be sent off across the world, right? Um, what's gonna happen next is that the kingdom is gonna be fully manifested, and there won't be that number. The elect will travel, right, across and gather these elites from their bunkers, from their caves, and bring them into slavery, man. Right? Like I think it's in Amos that goes up to the hidest thyself in Mount Carmel, and then will grab you down. Right? Since thence will my hand find you. All right. So yeah, that's gonna happen. All these nations are gonna get put into slavery. Isaiah 60. All right. And then after that 1,000 years is up, these other nations, they're gonna go back to their lands and be in perpetual servitude under us, have to pay tribute to us. The Amalek and the rest of these Edomites are gonna be destroyed. Right? And what, what we say is that they'll reincarnate amongst other nations. Right? But we'll see what happens in the kingdom to them, whether they reincarnate or what. But you know what I mean? That's just gonna be the end of Esau. Right? Put them all in a pit and burn them up. So I'm gonna let that be that. The one you edified, and I say shalom.